All right, here we go on this Wednesday night. It's the Donovan Live Postgame Show on WKYC's Facebook Live. I'm Dave Natale with Jim Donovan. A lot to get into tonight. We are keeping one eye, of course, on the Cleveland Indians. They are in the top of the 11th at the Big A out in Anaheim against the Los Angeles Angels. 2-2 tie. Another great Corey Kluber pitching performance. One mistake, just like against Seattle. One mistake, ball goes deep, and another case where the offense can't pick them up.
Yeah, you know, they jump out to a 2-0 lead. They only got a run though in the first. They had the bases loaded, and they only got one out of that, and then they got a run in the fifth. And they haven't done much really around that.
Right.
But they certainly haven't done anything to add on to it, and didn't add on to it. And Shohei Ohtani, you know, hit him out again, and he hit a home run last night. And for a guy that everybody was down on in training camp and during the Cactus League season, to the point where a lot of people thought he should go down to the minor leagues rather than be with the Angels at the start of the regular season. I think maybe only the fact that he was a pitcher, you know, he's in their rotation, you know, that got him on the opening day roster, and he pitched well. I watched that game over the weekend against Oakland, and he's hitting well now. I mean, he's certainly against the Indians.
Yeah.
So there'd be no doubt that flight would be made a lot happier if the Indians could squeeze across a run here. It might take a squeeze, but to squeeze across the run and get out of there 3-3 on the trip.
I think you'll take that.
But you're right about Kluber. You know, sometimes he does not. Sometimes there are pitchers that do not get run support.
Right.
And there are times that he doesn't get run support. He gets the bare minimum, if that.
And it's the negative, I think, sometimes of being the first guy in the rotation, the ace of the rotation.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes you're matched up against the other team's best pitcher who, you know, is also good and is able to handcuff the offense to the point where you're always pitching like one run. You can't afford to give up even one run, and that's always been, unfortunately, the bugaboo for Corey. And the fact that he's won 2 Cy Young awards is, I guess, sometimes it's pretty unbelievable when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, when is the last time that you really didn't get a quality start out of him? Like maybe in the playoffs last year. But you know, even in the fifth game, I mean, he gave up 2 homers to Gregorius, but he made 2 bad pitches in that game. Game 2, though, he was not good. He was not sharp in that game. But other than that, leading up to that, and what won him the Cy Young, the 18 wins. I mean, he gets on a dominant roll at some point, and if they give him any kind of offense, then it's a day that you're going to win, and that makes him an ace. That makes him a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. The interesting thing now will be that they're going to hit some weather when they come back to Cleveland. It's going even if they play, it's going to be uncomfortable to play in that. And that's why Mark Shapiro always told me you really have to wait until Memorial Day to see where you are.
And I believe that's your first benchmark of the season.
It's your first mile marker into the season. And he almost went along a holiday theme when he discussed that with me one time. He said, by Memorial Day, you got a very good read on where you are and what you need. And then by the 4th of July, you really kind of know what you need.
Yeah, and how you're going to, you figure out now how you're going to get it.
Yeah, and you got to go to the trading deadline, which is typically at the end of July. Then you get to Labor Day, and you really know where you are, you can do it, and then you kick it into the stretch run. So, I mean, but this weekend, they could have delays, they could have some postponements with some really iffy weather Friday and even Saturday.
And it's probably good they're facing Kansas City, a team that they play a lot. So, I mean, if they have to, you know, call a game or call 2 games, well, it's Kansas City. They're coming back. It's a division opponent. So, you know, you go with what you can out there.
Yeah, Kansas City's been involved in a couple of those already because they were, I think with Detroit, they've been involved in a couple in their opening series against the White Sox, I think. They've hit some weather. So, but I mean, you look across the East right now, and I'm talking weather. But you look across the East right now. I mean, the Yankees came back home at Yankee Stadium after they opened up in Toronto. And of course, that's indoors. But they came back to Yankee Stadium and they had snow on opening day, pushed to the next day, snow and cold again. It was freezing there again today. You know, this is tough. I know a lot of people say in the perfect world, you should take teams like the Indians, the Yankees, the Red Sox,
the Tigers, and move them out west or play them in.
I agree with that.
You either play out west or you play in Tampa Bay or Toronto where you have the domes.
You can go to Florida, right? Yeah.
So there's that. Michael Brantley, by the way, is going to be back on Friday.
Now, would you play him Friday if it's an off field?
If it's
this
an
is
off,
a guy that has had multiple injuries and coming off ankle surgery, and I know they do a great job over at Progressive Field getting that field ready. But they are saying there's going to be an ongoing weather situation. Would you put him out there?
I don't think I would.
Would you DH him?
I would either DH him or pinch hit him until because I need the weather to be a little warmer. I need Michael around this year. If I'm thinking about the Indians, so we'll watch for that. Meanwhile, on the Dan Patrick Show today,
which is a great show.
Yeah, if you get a chance to watch it or listen to it, I get the audience channel, so I'm able to watch it.
I love watching it. It's also on the NBC Sports
That's right, Network. Yeah. So I try not to miss it. I think it's great. John Paul Manziel was on the show today. Manziel, quote to the show, "If Cleveland," talk about the Browns, "did any of their homework, they would have known I wasn't a guy who came in every day and watched film. I wasn't a guy who really knew the X's and O's of football."
Yeah.
I listen to that and I'm like, come on, man.
Well, there are two problems. He is right. Okay, they should have done their homework.
Yes.
And if they had done their homework a little bit more, rather than get wrapped up in the aura and the potential marketing of Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, if you had gone inside that a little bit, then you would have seen that was a, run and shoot offense down there at best down at Texas A&M. He was pretty much calling that off an armband.
Yeah.
From Kevin Sumlin, who was the head coach at A&M when Johnny was there, But there are two problems. The number one problem is he's right about the Browns.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a pick that has set them back.
And let's remember for a second, if you think about Manziel, this was at a time when the Browns went from Joe Banner and Michael Lombardi in the front office to Ray Farmer. Banner had commissioned a study and what was it? It was It was a study basically to figure out, what are the best attributes when it comes to drafting a quarterback and who in a loaded class in 2014 would be the best quarterback ultimately to draft. And I think Bridgewater was the one who the computer popped out and said, yeah, you ought to take Teddy Bridgewater. But all that was pushed to the side because Banner was pushed to the side and Lombardi was pushed to the side. Rob Chudzinski was gone. You get the new head coach in Mike Pettin. So and they didn't have a lot of time to prepare. I'm not giving them a pass to what Manziel says. But
let me just tell you how dysfunctional that draft was because I know a little bit about the inners of that one. Mike Pettin was the head coach of the team. Okay, Ray Farmer and Mike Pettin didn't even know each other.
Right.
Okay, because
forced marriage.
Farmer all of a sudden ends up as the general manager of the team. Pettin ends up as the head coach of the team, and there you go. It looked like, take this into consideration. It looked like Farmer was on his way to Miami, possibly.
Yes, that's right.
To become head of front office, maybe the GM of the Dolphins. And Mike Pettin seemed to be settling in to be the defensive coordinator again with the Buffalo Bills and to ride that out under Rex Ryan. Suddenly, the two of them are, GM, new head coach, and they're together.
Make it work.
Now, they trade out of that pick early, and they trade down, back up, and they take Justin Gilbert. And Mike Pettin never, ever met Justin Gilbert. Okay? And he got a call from an Oklahoma State coach, and I think it might have been the defensive coordinator after they made the pick and said, God, if you had only called me, I would have been able to, I would have told you that this guy, I don't know if this kid loves football enough that you're going to make him your number one pick.
So, because it was always portrayed that Pettin was the one who was really pushing Ray Farmer to make the pick of Gilbert. That was always how it was portrayed.
That's incorrect. He was pushing a cornerback, but not that cornerback.
Not that cornerback.
Not that cornerback.
It's good to know. That's good to know. So they pick Gilbert. And then disaster because Manziel's stock is plummeting. The Cowboys amongst the teams that decided not to take him. The dreaded text messaging with Dowell Loggins pops up.
Right, and that is Manziel in communication with the quarterback coach, Darryl Loggins, at that point in time, saying, hey, listen, let's wreck this league. He runs down the hallway, relays that message to the draft war room, and they make the move. They're going to go up, and they're going to get Johnny Manziel. Now, at that point, Derek Carr was still on the board.
Yes.
Bridgewater was still on the board, okay? Garoppolo was still on the board, okay? Kyle Shanahan, and we told the story here maybe a week ago. Shanahan, upon the drafting of Johnny Manziel and the movement, the trade, and then the drafting of Johnny Manziel, told the other offensive coaches, close up shop, we're all going to lose our jobs.
That's it.
Okay, now he got out of there before he lost the job. So it was a mess. I mean, it was an absolute mess, the decision-making and how they handled that, okay? And it was done for all the wrong reasons, I think.
Right.
But, I mean, the other problem and the bigger problem, and this goes to Manziel, is Johnny never really fully takes responsibility ever for what goes on. To me, this was a cop-out.
And I thought he had started to with some of the other interviews he had done with Joe Thomas and the Tomahawk podcast, and it seemed like he was starting to take responsibility. And then I hear that, and I'm like, I don't care if you're being tongue-in-cheek. I mean, Manziel's fighting for his NFL and professional football career here between the CFL or the NFL. I mean, you can't be glib about your time. I mean, if it didn't work, you got to take responsibility for it. And to sit there and say, well, if Cleveland had done their homework, I mean, I'm sorry, every team in the NFL requires you to do X's and O's. I don't think there's any team, Jimmy, that lets the quarterback shoot from the hip like that to run a team and run an offense like they do in college. It doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean, that's what's going on this week when they bring these quarterbacks in. I mean, they go through a personality interview with them, but then they go through a football knowledge interview with them, and they put them up on a board, and they give them situations, and they have them talk through the X's and O's, and what do you see here, and what do you see there? You wonder if this ever even happened in this scenario, or how did he get through that? Now remember, the charm of him was the chaos he created out on the field. He was the champion of the broken play.
Right.
That's what he was. He was razzle-dazzle, draw it up in the dirt, and go out there and run it, and scramble around, and then just find somebody and do it. But in the NFL, long before Johnny Manziel tried to do that, I mean, others tried to do that, and they were dead and buried with their football careers. So it's a pick and it's a draft, because you add Gilbert into that, that has set this franchise back. And that's why we have what I call the yips when it comes to the draft, because we're all so pensive and nervous about what they're going to do. Even on the Dan Patrick Show, and I've listened, I watch it daily because it's a terrific show. The draft being such a headline story right now, and the countdown to the draft, and what are the Browns going to do? Invariably, someone has that old hackney joke, well, they'll follow it up.
Yeah, somehow the Browns will be the Browns.
And that's the yips that are going on, but it's because of this Gilbert Manziel draft. I mean, I know there have been other ones, but this one.
That was the biggie.
That was the biggie.
That was the biggie. That was the biggie. Thurl wrote us here, after you did 3-on-3 earlier tonight with Danielle and Jasmine, he said, Jimmy was trashing Johnny Manziel. If I remember, this is Thurl, if I remember, Jim Donovan was behind the drafting of Manziel. He thought it was a great move. Thurl says, I was following college ball and knew it was a big mistake. Own it, Jimmy.
No, I was. Yeah. I did not realize, though, that, first of all, I did not think that he would get pushed into the lineup the way he was going to get pushed in that year. Second of all, I just did not realize that, the Texas A&M system was just so far away from a pro system. And, at first, I was caught up in the excitement. He was must-watch TV.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I thought that there was a possibility that he could come in and pull off that. But, I remember there were Browns players that told me that the day he started against Cincinnati, when he finally got the first start, when they benched Hoyer, he really didn't even know the plays. He didn't even know how to call the plays in the huddle. Now, I'll own it, but he's got to own it too. That's my point, is that when you come out and say, hey, the Browns should have done their homework. Yes, they should have.
Yes, they should have.
But so should he have.
Oh,
he was getting paid
as
a first-round draft choice to come in and play, and to be kind of blatant about, hey, well, I don't study film. I don't do that.
Right. then you're not going to succeed wherever you go. Kathy says, when I saw Manziel walk on the stage the day he was drafted with of course, the money sign,
which he said he wasn't going to do.
Oh. I'll believe that when I see it. I knew he was trouble, should have been a red flag. Well, yeah, unfortunately, though, at that point, you've turned the card and there's nothing you can do. Vicky adds, Manziel's blamed everyone but himself for his failures. He'll be a loser until he can take blame. I thought he had kind of started doing that until today, and I saw that. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? But
I really, I don't know. I mean, having lived through it, and watching it unfold, and the stuff that was going on, the not showing up to the facility, showing up drunk to practice. I mean, I'll own the fact that I was excited by him. I mean, I thought he was a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, he walked into Tuscaloosa, I thought, and played an incredible game to beat an incredible Alabama team, and I thought that they would translate into the NFL. But this guy needed more than a babysitter once he got here. And I think by the time, if you remember, by the time they got to training camp, I think everyone sensed there was a problem. Because remember, every Monday from the time he was drafted, until they went to training camp, every Monday there was a
picture or a video.
Story, a picture, a video of him. And at first we were all going, well, I mean, there he is. That's Johnny. Let Johnny be Johnny. Right. But then I think 3 weeks into it, I think we all kind of went, "Hey, listen."
Right.
And
I mean, this is around the time.
A lot of us were wrong, and I was one of them. Yeah.
This is around the time when you have OTAs on the weekends or whatever, or minicamp, and players are in town, and you're seeing Manziel when after he leaves. I mean, he's on the Swan drinking champagne, and it's like, what have we gotten ourselves into? Oh, I love this from Nina. Prime example of what's wrong with my generation. Can't take responsibility for their own issues and problems. Johnny's, until he does that fully, no team in the NFL is going to take him seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I really, I agree right now, because that position is, you are handing the responsibility of a franchise. I mean, let's face it. It's such an important position. There's so much pressure. There's so much preparation put into a quarterback going out on the field for an NFL franchise. That's why if you get a great one, you hold on to him forever.
That's it.
I mean, that's the whole ball of wax there, and that's been the missing part of the equation here, is that we haven't been able to find the right guy, and you have to keep taking a shot at it until you find the guy. But this was a real setback. There's no doubt about it.
It torpedoed. Last comment, and I promise I want to move on to today in Berea. Mike says, Manziel won the Heisman Trophy. We remember that. He had tremendous talent. Mike says he has tremendous talent. I used the past tense for a purpose. The Browns coaching staff were idiots, according to Mike. Didn't know how to funnel it. He was immature. Well, Mike, I appreciate your opinion. We appreciate it, but he was immature. The problem with Jimmy, and you've talked about this before, and Manziel's talked about this before. Yeah. When he got here, I mean, he expected everything to be handed to him right away, including the starting spot. Yeah. And when he didn't get it,
he became detached.
He became detached, and as in his story saying, I was depressed. I became depressed because he didn't get the job.
Yeah, and they had and let me just say this too. There was a dysfunctional situation inside the quarterback room. I mean, Brian Hoyer was trying to, I mean, the whole thing was a mess, and I mean this, and back to the first question, 5 Hail Marys for me for, wanting Johnny Manziel. But let me tell you, there was a lot more. I mean, he is not free of sin in this whole situation.
No.
Okay? And I do own it, but I mean, you know what? He needs to own it. Isn't that what we're talking about? Yeah. But I mean, here's the situation. Brian Hoyer and Johnny Manziel had nothing to do with each other.
No.
Because Manziel's saying to himself, what, I'm not better than this guy? Hoyer's saying to himself, listen, I'm working my tail off.
Right.
And this guy's goofing around. I'm good for the city and good for the franchise, and I'm from here, and I'm invested in this thing. And then the coaching staff, Mike Pettin, led by Mike Pettin, and to some extent Shanahan, said, we like Hoyer.
Yeah.
We can win with Hoyer. There's a formula to win with Brian Hoyer, okay? And we can, if we play good defense, we'll get enough out of this, and we can win with Brian Hoyer. But remember now, I mean, this is the time when they were texting, Ray Farmer's texting down on the sideline, put Manziel in. This was the height of dysfunction.
Yeah. I mean, this was
the height of it.
This, as bad as, I don't know, Matt Florjancic and I were talking about this. What was worse, 0-16 or that 2 years of dysfunction between when Banner and Lombardi were tossed out of the building to when they went to analytics? I'm not sure which was worse.
Yeah, well, I mean, last year was bad. It was painful. You hope that we'll look back on it and say, well, something good came out of it because some of these players played probably before they would have played on any other NFL team, or if the Browns had been an older team and a more competitive team. But now, because they played early, they're functional, they're contributing, they're good players, and then you hopefully marry them with other good players and you draft good players, and now you got it going. And that will be the memory, I think, hopefully. That would be the best memory you could take out of 0-16. What was going on back then was, I mean, that was embarrassing.
That was a soap opera. It was a terrible soap opera
to the entire organization, and how they were functioning. I mean, it was just bizarre. And I think everybody looked at them and said, "What the heck are they doing there?" And Johnny Manziel and Justin Gilbert were the big, the guys that put this thing off the tracks.
Yeah, instead of wreck this league, it was wreck this team. Fast forward now to present day as the Browns prepare for the 2018 NFL Draft. Sam Darnold had his opportunity to be in Cleveland today and meet with the Browns. What happens generally on these visits when a player goes to Berea and is it basically more or less just basically conversations with coaching staff and personnel people to kind of talk about philosophies and things like that? What goes on in a lot of these meetings?
Now remember, at the Combine, they have a chance to sit down with these
guys.
But
only for like 20 minutes, right?
It's 15.
15,
yeah. 15 minutes, okay? So, I mean, you get a hello, how do you do? And you get kind of a feel for the kid. The pro day, again, that's out on the field and that's getting it done. And, the Browns pushed the envelope a little bit more in some of these visits with these quarterbacks because they went out to dinner. They got a chance to meet Darnold's family and others too. Now, when they come here, he's here.
Yes.
Okay, so he's here. And there probably were others too.
Yeah.
Because they get 30. But he'll get a chance to sit down with all those coaches, and it's not time this time. They get a chance to really get they'll put them, as they say, they'll put them up on the board. They'll put them up on a whiteboard, and they'll go through things, go through their offense, go through the offense that he ran. Really, if you watch the old series when John Gruden had
the QB camp,
QB camp, it's a lot like that. He took you inside what a team would do with a player like that, and they'll really get a chance to meet him. They'll show him, obviously, the facility, a tour. He'll meet everybody there. But most of all, it's for Hugh Jackson, Todd Haley, everybody there, especially those offensive coaches, in the case of a quarterback, to sit down and really get inside the kid's head and knowledge to see what they're dealing with, I think.
And you wondered if, they'll go through, they had Baker Mayfield in town earlier this week, Darnold today at some point, Allen, Jackson, Rosen will all get their opportunity. And you wonder at some point in the next week, 10 days, maybe they'll be able to say, okay, look, we've had everybody here now. Quarterback XYZ, Darnold is our guy, et cetera. I mean, let's go ahead. We don't have to. We can officially put it down. Sam Darnold's our guy.
Yeah, because they're going to have to be ready to pick again.
Yes.
Pretty quickly after they make the number one pick, okay, or make a move or whatever they're going to do. Their strategy is going to have to be, listen, number one, but they can't sit back and wait till the next night for the second round. They're at 4, which is, within the hour probably after they make that pick, that they're going to be able to get back up and do something, make a pick, and what are they going to do with that pick? I think the number 2 pick, the Giants pick, is going to reveal an awful lot what the Browns are going to do strategically and specifically at number 4.
And I still wonder what Buffalo is going to do, if they're going to really try to make an effort to move up as well. Last thing here on the post game before we let you go. Cavaliers, we found out, are going to have Tyronn Lue back. on the sidelines coaching starting tomorrow night when they take on the Wizards. The next 2 games are really interesting for the Cavs. They've got 4 to go between now and the playoffs. They'll play home to Washington tomorrow, at Philadelphia Friday. Either game may be a first-round playoff preview, and then you've got a home-and-home with the Knicks in New York on Sunday, and then wrapping up at the Q 1 week from tonight. Interesting stretch for Coach Lue to come back as the Cavs try to finish out here on this nice little high that they've been on over the last 10 games.
Yeah, won 4 in a row. Really an authoritative win, I think, last night. They got out in front. They stayed out in front. They didn't, they just stayed out in front of Toronto. Toronto took runs at them. They never were able to really get them, and they would balloon the lead out, and that's how it went down. It was a 6-point score at the end, 6-point difference, but they gave up a couple of crazy baskets at the end of the game. The game, looking past Washington, the game Friday night's fascinating.
Yes, it is.
It's a huge game in Philadelphia for the Sixers, who are playing tonight. They're playing Detroit. They've won 11 in a row.
Yep.
And this is a huge game for them.
Yes.
No matter what happens against the Pistons tonight, because they'll get a chance to play the Cavs, and that would be the litmus test for them where they are going into the playoffs. Because a lot of people are fascinated by them now that they're so young, but they're oblivious to playoff pressure. Is it suddenly going to hit them smack in the face that they're going to be young players and go, oh my goodness, the stage is too big for us. We'll get them next year. Or are they going to be one of these teams that really surprises people, because they have been a surprise, I think, down the stretch. I think we knew they were going to improve, but maybe not at this rate.
Yeah, this has been to play this well in April for such a young team. March now into April, pretty good stuff. I promised I have one more thing. Who do you like to win the Masters this weekend?
I'm going to select. I'm not going to select Tiger.
I'm not
I hope
either.
He's in contention.
Me too. Me too.
I'm going to say Rory McIlroy.
That's who I picked. That's who I picked earlier.
Yeah.
I love Rory. And by the way, I don't usually get into the par 3 tournament and everything, but the fact that, number one, Jack Nicklaus's grandson,
15 years old,
aced his shot today, and 68-year-old Tom Watson was your winner.
Really?
He won it.
Wow.
To me, fantastic as well.
I think Jack Nicklaus, Tom Watson, and Gary Player were all in the same
that was
group.
the threesome. Yeah, that was the threesome.
Scene. When Jack Nicklaus's son, Gary Nicklaus Jr., when he got the hole-in-one, Jack Nicklaus was brought to tears.
Yeah.
78 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty, I would think they'll be the official starter. The 3 of them will be the official starters tomorrow. Great stuff. Indians, by the way, and as you can see, Indians, Angels still knotted up at 2. They are in the bottom of the 12th inning, 1 out, actually 1 out. Yep, nobody on. Okay, so we'll keep you posted. We'll have highlights of the Tribe tonight, Channel 3 News at 11, and then see you all back here tomorrow for another Donovan Live Postgame Show.
Right.
Jimmy, as always, good stuff, great questions, and I hope the person who asked Jimmy to own it is satisfied. Yeah, go say your 5 Hail Marys, and it'll be.
It's the week after Holy Week, but it will become an extension of that from me. You're right.
And by the way, Mr. Donovan was not the only one excited about Johnny Manziel being here. There was like a whole town. Maybe you didn't hear about it. All right, for David Herberton, for Jim Donovan, I'm Dave DiNatale. Thank you for watching the Donovan Live Postgame Show on WKYC's Facebook Live.